Hello again. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy over here for Everyman IT, and today's class is Vim for file editing, of course, within Linux. So when you are dealing with Linux systems, editing configuration files is a very, very important thing. If you want a piece of software to do something specific, if you want to customize something, you almost always have to open up a little configuration file and actually go in and edit that configuration file. Whether it's php.ini, whether it's a password file, what we'll talk about in another class with user accounts and passwords and all that, whether it's the .htaccess file. Basically, all the configurations in a Linux system are held within simple text files that you have to edit in order to make the system do different things. Now, there are a lot of different editors out there that many people use to edit configuration files within Linux. We are going to be talking about Vim today, V-I-M. There's also V, there's also there's a ton of different editors that you can use. With editors in Linux, it's kind of like antivirus software in the Windows world. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody believes that their opinion is absolutely correct, and everybody believes that anybody who uses something else is just a retard. So just understand that with the Linux world. It's one of their little weird bits of arrogance. So again, I am going to show you how to edit files using Vim, but probably, whoever you run into in the Linux world, they will have their own opinion on which piece of software to use, and you should just you should go with what works for you. I like Vim. I think it's pretty easy, and that's what we're going to show you today. Now, one of the big things that you have to understand, since I understand most of you are coming from the Windows world, is that in Linux there are no file associations. What I mean by this is in Windows, you have the file name, and then there is always a period, and then there is something called a file association. So it'll be like Word document .txt or .doc or .pdf, etc. This is what tells the Windows operating system what program to use to open that file. Well, in the Linux world, and this is one of the reasons people get really scared about Linux, is there are no file associations. So basically, you just have a file name, and that's it. So I'll show you in a second. You just open that file name. So you do sudo vim file name. And now you may be asking, how do you know if it's a text file? How do you know if it's a document file? How do you know if it's a picture file? Well, that's a weird thing in Linux, is they expect you as a system administrator to know what that file is. So if you're going in to modify text files, understand that they're not going to have .txt at the end of it. It will simply be the file name. So you will have to understand what file it is you need to modify, and then you just use the Vim piece of software to modify the file. This will make a little more sense once we actually go into the class, and once I demonstrate this on the computer. The big thing with Vim for file editing is, again, everybody who uses Linux, they all like, whatever editor they use. We are using Vim just because it's what I'm comfortable with, what I'm comfortable teaching you with. All the configuration files in Linux have to be edited using an editor. So if you don't understand how to edit documents or text in Linux, you're not going to get anywhere. And the final thing, though, is, and this is the important thing, is there is no file association in Linux. You're not going to see configuration file.txt. You will simply see a file name. It is your responsibility to know what's a text file, what's a picture, etc. Again, that will make more sense once we get in this class. So give me a second to put a few things together, and we will get into the class Vim for file editing. So now we need to talk about starting Vim. So how do you open a file with Vim, or how do you create a file with Vim? And it is very, very, very simple. Now, the first thing that you want to do is use the command sudo. Sudo. Remember, this is like run as administrator. Basically, it says super user do. Then you're going to have space, and then you are going to type the command vim, V-I-M, all lowercase, because again, remember, lowercase matters in the Linux world. Then after that, you are going to type in the file name of what you are going to open. And remember, also make sure that the case is correct. If the file name is all lowercase, make sure you type in lowercase. So all that you have to do to open a file using Vim is do sudo space vim space and the file name. That is all that you have to do to open a file. So if you're trying to open the php.ini file, you would do sudo space vim space php.ini, as long as you're in the right directory. And that is how you would open the php.ini file. Now, if you are trying to create a new file, so I don't know, you're trying to write some notes, or you're trying to write a configuration file of your own, this command also creates files. So if you do sudo vim and the new file name for the file that you're trying to create, that will create the file and open it at the exact same time. So opening files and creating files uses the exact same command, sudo vim file name. Now, for some of you guys that have experience with other versions of Linux, or some of you guys, you may notice that you can run the vim command without sudo. Here's the problem, at least in the Ubuntu world. If you try to run Vim without sudo, sometimes it'll work right and sometimes it won't. It's all kind of like a case-by-case basis. Some of the configuration files will open and you can edit them without using sudo. Others of them won't edit properly. And you can run into problems where if you open a configuration file with simply Vim and the file name, you will get done editing it, and then you will find out you will not be able to save that file because you are not opening that configuration file as a super user. So this is just something to keep in mind. You know, in almost all, since I'm teaching you Ubuntu Linux, basically, where we're using the Ubuntu Linux distribution, you should almost always run sudo before any command. So even with Vim, even with file editing, I would suggest you do sudo vim and the file name. Now, the final thing that we're going to have to talk about is, since we're using Vim to edit configuration files, you know, we're not using Vim to write a research paper. We're not using Vim to write the next great American novel. We are using Vim to edit the php.ini files or the .htaccess files. Basically, we're using Vim to modify configuration files. One of the problems that can come up is when you install software onto Linux, the owner of that software many times, or the files within the software many times, is root. So when you install, you know, the LAMP Linux Apache MySQL PHP server onto a Linux system, all the files associated with that software become root's property. So root is the owner of those files. If you try to go in and edit some of those files, many times you will not be able to edit them because you are not the owner. So if you're going to edit configuration files, the first thing that I would tell you to do is change the ownership from whoever it is to you, just to make your life easy. Especially right now, while you're playing around with things, this will make life better. We are going to have a class on permissions, but right now, if you're going to go changing the php.ini file or any of that, you need to change the ownership of that file to you. So how you do that is simply this command. It's sudo space chown. So this means change owner. Then you put the user, so the username that you want to change the file to, and or the permission to, and then the file name. So basically you say super user do change ownership to Eli of file text.txt. So that's all you do. Again, this is very important. Like I say, when you're going to php.ini, .htaccess, a lot of these things you cannot save if you're not owner of the file. So make sure, like I say, if you're doing configuration files, right now, especially while you're playing, this isn't a good security policy. But right now you're learning Linux, so let's not worry about security too much yet. So what I want you to do is, if you have to go in and edit configuration files, it's sudo space chown space the username, so basically your username, and the file that you want to change the ownership. So those are the big things when you're using Vim. Make sure to put sudo before Vim, so it's super user do, and then make sure to change the ownership of the configuration file to you. If you don't change the ownership to you, you really can have problems later. Just so this makes a little bit more sense, let's go over to the computer and I'll do some demonstrations of this. So here we are sitting at the CLI, the command line interface. So I'll log in, Eli 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so we're now logged into Ubuntu server. Now, if I am trying to create a file, like I say, all you have to do is type in sudo space vim and whatever file name you'd like to create. So sudo vim, and then I'll just call it new file. And now we are inside Vim. So this is inside Vim, the text editor, and this is a completely new file. So I can start typing, hello, my name is Eli. So I am typing this inside the file. You don't have to understand how to insert stuff right now. We're going to teach that a little bit later. So that is how you create a new file. And I save and quit out of this. And that new file exists. So now, in order to reopen that new file, so before new file, the file new file did not exist. I created new file by doing sudo vim new file. So now I can reopen new file by using again sudo space vim now new file. Now, like I say, look at this. There is no file association. It's not newfile.txt, it's not newfile.doc, it's not newfile.anything. It is simply new file. So now I hit enter, and look, my file came open again. Hello, my name is Eli. And so we'll quit out of this. To show you how this works on normal configuration files that you may be dealing with, we can go to sudo vim. Let's see. The password file is a file that deals with all the user accounts on your system. And so if we open it up, this here actually shows you all your users' accounts right now. Root, bin, sys, Eli, what the common name is, root path, and all of that. The only thing I want you to get out of when you are looking at this page right now is to understand this is how everything is configured within Linux. So if you were dealing with a Windows server, you'd have a nice graphical user interface, and you'd right click and you'd left click and you'd do a little checkbox or radio box. Here, if I want to make a change to the Eli account, I would actually have to come in to this text file and make a change to the account. So with that, let's get out of this. Now, let me clear the screen. In order to clear the screen, you just type in CLEAR when you want to get rid of all that other garbage. So we clear the screen. Now, let's change the ownership of something. So right now, let's say I did not own the file, new file. Let's say that was a configuration file. I would do php.ini, but it's not installed on the system. So in order to change the ownership of a file, all you do is you do sudo change owner, CHOWN, then you say who you want to change the ownership to. So let's say with new file, I'm actually going to change it to root, so ROT. So I'm going to make root the owner of new file, space, and then the file name, new file. And now the owner is root. New file is now owned by root. It's that simple. So if I want to change it back to myself, sudo Eli new file. And now I am back to being owner. Like I say, this really like most of the text files, it doesn't matter. What's going to matter is once you start installing servers, like I say, these configuration files, .htaccess files, php.ini files, conf files, those many times in the Ubuntu world, one of the stupid, irritating quirks is they become owned by root, and you can't necessarily change them unless you're the owner, etc. So the easiest thing to do is change the ownership to yourself, edit the file. If you want to be secure, you then change the owner back to root. But with that, let's exit out of this. Being good security people, in order to log off, you just do exit, EXIT, And there we go. We are logged off the server. So let's go back out to the real world and talk about editing and navigating in Vim. So it's pretty simple to open a file using Vim, and it's pretty simple to change the ownership to you. You know, as long as you're relaxed, this won't be any big problem. Now that you've opened a file, now you need to understand how to modify that file. So if you're going into a configuration file, how do you actually change anything? Because as you notice, if you use a little arrow keys in a Vim file and then you go to start editing, nothing happens. So you arrow around to where you want to edit, then you start hitting keys and nothing at all happens. The reason is that you have to enter the insert mode. So in order to enter the insert mode in Vim, you simply type the letter A. So you type in A, and that will now put you in the insert mode. You can now use the arrow keys to navigate around to wherever you need to edit. You can backspace and delete. You can add new words, whatever. But the first thing that you have to do is type the letter A. That puts you into the insert mode. Now, when you're done making your modifications to the file, all you do to get out of the insert mode is hit the escape key. So A gets you into insert mode, escape key gets you out of insert mode. Really simple. Again, with Linux, all this stuff is really simple if you know what to type in. If you don't know what to type in, it's just a horrible, horrible, insane mess. So the next thing is if you're dealing with configuration files, especially like the php.ini file, something that you're going to have to modify, these are really, really long, tedious documents, and you're basically trying to read them on a DOS screen. You know, this isn't in Word where it's really easy to navigate around. It's a terminal screen. It's DOS. So if you need to find something in one of these files, because like I say, a lot of times with the configuration files, you'll be told, you know, you need to change this max variable to 80 megs or something. Well, in order to find something, there's two very simple commands for finding. So when you go back and you're not in the insert mode, so you're out of the insert mode, so you hit escape, so you're just looking at the file, what I want you to type in is you type in : / and then what you're looking for, you know, max. Again, remember in Linux, upper and lowercase matter. So make sure you type in the right upper and lowercase. But now, what this does is it looks from the place that you're at all the way through the rest of the document to see if this word shows up. So it does max show up. Now, the important thing with searching is that you can put in wildcard characters, and as I say, Linux is a bit quirky. I'm horrible with a keyboard, so one of the things I always do is whatever I'm looking for, I put in a star in front and behind what I'm looking for. So what this says is I'm looking for anything that has max basically in the middle. So anything before max and anything after max, because you know, sometimes if there's a space, if sometimes there's a little character, this may not show up in your search if you just have max. So what I would say is you use the wildcard, you do star whatever it is you're looking for, star, and that will make sure that whatever it is you're looking for will show up. Now : will search down the file. If you're trying to search up the file, let's say you've gone all the way to the end of the file and you're like, I don't know where it is. What you do is you do : space, and then what you're looking for. This is what will search up the file. So if you're at the top of the file, you do : and that searches down the file. If you're at the bottom of the file, : and that goes up the file. So it's pretty easy to search as long as you know these commands. And of course, after this, you hit enter. Now, if you're searching down the file or up the file, you can also, once it is found, whatever it is you're looking for, or the first instance of it, if you type in the letter N, it will go to the next search. So, you know, find next in Windows, basically N is find next in Windows. So it'll go down, it'll find something, and you go, no, that's not what I'm looking for. N, it'll go to the next. N, it'll go to the next. N, it'll go to the next. See how easy that is? So navigating and editing in Vim is really, really easy. When you find whatever it is you want to edit, you hit A. That puts you into the insert mode. You then type in whatever it is you want to type in. When you're done typing, you hit escape. That gets you out of the insert mode. Pretty simple. That's all you have to do to edit. Then if you're searching for things, because like I say, in these configuration files, they get really stupidly long. I mean, stupidly long. All you do is you do colon forward slash and then space and what you're looking for to go down the file. So that search is down the file. To search up the file, you do colon forward slash question mark space, and that will search up the file. Remember, with these searches, you can use wildcard characters. So I would say, especially since you're new and me, I'm just bad with all this stuff, I always put an asterisk before and after whatever it is that I'm searching for to make sure that it actually comes up. It just makes life a little easier. Then, when you're searching, if it comes to the first item and that is not what you're looking for, all you do is you hit the N key, and that is find next, and you'll go on to the next iteration of whatever it is. This is all it takes to edit files in Vim. Like I say, it's very, very, very simple as long as you understand the keys. Let's go over to the Linux box, and I'll show you how this actually works. So now we're back at the Ubuntu server. I have installed PHP 5 now because the php.ini file, the configuration file for PHP, is such a monstrosity that it's a great little learning tool. So let's go into the php.ini file. So all we do is we type in sudo, then we do vim for the file editor, and then php.ini. Now this php.ini, if you have a web server, you probably have PHP on it. And PHP controls almost everything you do. Like I say, if you have a Drupal website, if you have a WordPress website, etc., they all rely on PHP. And so if your PHP isn't set up correctly, it's just nothing works right. So now we are in the php.ini file. So if we want to change anything with PHP, we have to change this. And as you can see, it is a long, horrible, hideous text file that can be a real pain in the butt to get around. So we need to search for what it is we're looking for. So let's say right now we need to change the size of the files that can be uploaded, because PHP controls the size of the files that can be uploaded through a web application. So in order to find the max size for the upload, what we'll do is we'll type in colon forward slash, and then what I'm going to do is, because I don't know what the configuration is exactly, so I'll do star for wildcard, anything before, and then upload, and then star anything after. So this means find anything below this, anything before upload, anything after upload, and then I hit enter first, and this will take me to this this line. It says whether to allow file uploads or not. That's not what I'm looking for. Then I hit next, file uploads, file uploads, file uploads. See, it keeps going through, showing you the next instance of upload. Now if you look here, you see that I have found the upload max file size. So this is the maximum file size that can be uploaded. Now, the first thing you're going to do, being used to Notepad and such, is you're going to try to edit this and see if you hit backspace. If you can hear that, it's not actually editing anything. You're like, crap. And if you hit M, that's not doing anything. Why? Because you are not in the insert mode. You have to go into the insert mode. So in order to go to the insert mode, all you do is you hit A. So the letter A. You are now, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you see it now says insert. So what I can do is I can now hit backspace, and look, that 2 went away. I can now hit 100. So now it'll be 100 megabytes that can be uploaded. And then to get out of the insert mode, all I do is I hit escape. And now I'm back out of the insert mode. If I hit backspace now, nothing happens. So that's all you do. Now if you're trying to search up the file, like I say, is you do colon forward slash question mark, and then whatever it is, it'll go up the file. But that's all you have to do. The main thing to remember with this, though, is if you're trying to edit the file, you have to hit A. That puts you into insert mode, and that allows you to edit something. You can hit all the letters you want. If you can hear that, oops, I accidentally hit A. You can hit all the letters you want, but if you're not in the insert mode, it's not going to work right. So with that, let's go back out to the real world and talk about how you actually save one of these files. So the next thing we need to talk about is how to open files, exit files, and save files within Vim. So you understand to open a file in Vim when you're sitting at the CLI, the command line interface, that little DOS prompt. All you do is you do sudo vim and the file name, and that will open up the file. Well, what about if you're already in Vim? If you need to open a file and you're already in Vim, so you need to switch to another file, all you do is you do colon, lowercase e, space, and the file name. So all you do is from where you're sitting at Vim, you just do colon, e, space, and the file name, and that will open up the new text file. So whatever it is that you're looking for. That's all you have to do to open a file once you're already in Vim. Now let's say you open a file, you're looking around, and you don't want to change anything. So you've seen the file, you just need a little bit of information, and now you need to get out of the file. Well, what you do is you just do colon, Q, and this quits Vim. So colon Q, and then enter, of course, quits Vim. So if you just go into a file, you're just trying to find some information, you find the information, you want to get out, colon Q will get you out. Sometimes you have to force your way out for whatever reason. It doesn't want to shut down Vim, or wants to try to save changes that it can't. There can be problems. If you put an exclamation point after the Q, it will force the shutdown of Vim. So if you do colon Q, 99% of the time, that will quit Vim, and no changes will be saved. No changes will be saved. You simply quit. Done. So you went, you looked at files, nothing. Sometimes, for whatever reason, it kind of locks up or whatever. If you do colon Q exclamation point, that forces the shutdown of Vim if you need that. Now, let's say you want to get out of Vim, but you want to save the configuration files. So you went into the php.ini file, you changed the max upload, and now you want to save that, of course. So with that, what you do is you do colon W for write, Q, and quit. This will save the file and quit. So colon WQ is how you save a file and get out of it. So you change all the configurations that you want to change. You want to make sure that gets saved. Colon WQ we'll simply save it. The next thing is, let's say you make some changes to the file, but you don't want to save back to the original file. You want to do a save as command. All you do for that is you do colon W space and then the file that you want to save this new document as. So you go in and you make some changes to the file, and you may just want to do file new or something. So basically you don't want to overwrite the old file. And that, again, that's all it is. Opening, exiting, and saving in Vim. So if you want to, like I say, you're already in Vim. The Vim program is open. And then you want to open another file. You want to go to another file. All you do is colon, E, space, and the file name, or the file name path. If you open a file, you're done looking at it, you don't want to save any changes, you do colon Q, as in quit, and that should quit Vim. On some occasions, that doesn't quit Vim properly, so you can do colon Q exclamation point, and that forces the closure of Vim. That is closing Vim without saving anything. If you want to save and close, you do colon W, as in write, Q, as in quit. So this is save and close. If you want to basically do a save as, so you want to save this to a different file name for whatever reason, you do colon W for write, space, and then the file name that you want to call the new file. Again, this is simply a save as command. That's pretty simple. Let's go over to the little Ubuntu server. I'll show you how all this works and how simple this is. So here we are back on the server. We're at the command line interface, the CLI. So let's start off by just opening Vim. We're just going to open the Vim program. So we just do sudo and then Vim. By simply doing sudo and Vim, you just open Vim. That's all you do. Now, since we're inside Vim, let's say we want to edit the php.ini file like we were playing with before. So you do this no matter what Vim document you are in. All you do is, again, colon, you see down in the lower left-hand corner, and then E. Then you type in what file you want to open or what file you want to create. So we do php.ini and hit enter. we have now opened the php.ini file from within Vim. Now, if we're looking through this, we're scrolling down, we're reading, we don't find what we want, then all you have to do is, let's see if this stops, is you just do colon again, and then Q, and that quits Vim. So we are now out of Vim, if you see. So we just clear, and we're back here. So that's all you do. So in order to open a file from within Vim, it's colon E space, and whatever the file name is. In order to quit Vim, you do colon Q. Sometimes, like I say, you will have to do colon Q exclamation point. Now, let's go back into Vim, sudo vim php.ini. So we're back into Vim, and let's scroll down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert, and I go, I want to say something. So imagine that you want to edit a file, but you don't want to save it back to the original file. You're worried, this is a test file. So you can do a save as command. So with that, I will escape. So I'm now out of the insert mode. And to save as, all you do is you do colon W, and then I can do php.ini2. So for me, this is just kind of my naming convention. This is the second version. So this is the PHP file, but I modified it a little bit. And then you hit enter. Now this is saved as the php.ini2 file. So, if you need to play with it. Then at the end, if you just want to write and quit, so save and quit at the exact same time, again, you do colon, and then you do W, Q, and that is write quit, and then you hit enter, and as you can see, I'm back at the terminal prompt. So it is really it's that simple. Colon Q quits, colon Q exclamation point forces a quit, colon WQ writes and quits, colon E opens a file, and of course colon W is write, or basically save as. It's all pretty simple. So let's go back out to the real world and finish this class. So that's all there is for Vim for file editing. Again, like I say, in the Linux server world especially, editing files is a very, 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 very important thing. In Windows, if you want to change a network configuration, you right-click on My Network Places, you go to Properties, and it's all right, left click. In the Linux world, you have to change configuration files. So if you want to change your IP address in Linux, you have to go to the interfaces file, which is simply a text file, and you actually have to write out a whole bunch of text within that interfaces file to get a new IP address. So in Linux, in the command line Linux, in the server version, you have to understand how to edit files. Again, as I've shown you, this is pretty simple. This class that I showed you today, this is all that you need to know to edit files within Linux, whether it's php.ini files, .conf files, .htaccess files, etc. This class showed you everything that you need to know to edit files in Linux. Again, I showed you how to use Vim. I want to stress to you, especially now that you're in the Linux world, wow. Linux geeks put all other computer geeks to shame on just pure raw arrogance, I suppose you could say. So I need you, or I hope that you understand that every single Linux administrator likes their own editor. So like I say, some people use Vim, some people use V, some people use some other stuff. So anybody that you run into will think that their editor is the best, and it is wonderful. The last thing to say is, again, in Linux, I am trying to break everything down into very simple components. So I showed you Vim, how you need to know it, the basic layout, so that you can edit and create files. Vim is actually a very, very powerful powerful, sophisticated piece of software. And if you go in and you look at all the options you can do, it is absolutely amazing. So also, if you like Vim, if you want to do more stuff, please open the man pages and go and look at the documentation, because you can do a lot of things with Vim beyond what I talked about today. Today's class is just the simple stuff, all you need to know for, again, creating, modifying, editing configuration files. Again, you know, if you need to write the next great American novel or such, use Windows, use Word. It'll make your life a lot easier. You know, Linux text editing, it's really good for editing text. So as you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for Everyman IT. This class was Vim for file editing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you at the next class.